lying to my parents about my vacation dates to avoid taking my entitled sister with me. I'm Alex, 22F, and I'm knee-deep in the engineering student life. You know, the whole sleep is for the weak and coffee is a food group deal. Between juggling classes that make my brain hurt and an internship that's slowly sucking my soul, I thought I'd treat myself to a solo trip to Rome. Sounds great, right? A chance to eat my weight in pasta, pretend I understand art, and maybe have a cheesy Lizzie McGuire movie moment at the Trevi Fountain. But here's where it gets complicated. My family, particularly my parents and my younger sister, Emma. I love my family, but sometimes, well, let's just say love doesn't always equal harmony. Emma's 19, and how do I put this nicely? She's got a bit of a princess complex. You know the type. The world revolves around her, and if it doesn't, cue the waterworks and the "you never loved me" accusations. So I am trying to plan this awesome trip that I've been saving up for ages. It was originally supposed to be a romantic getaway with my ex, but now it's morphed into this solo adventure of self-discovery or whatever. But my parents, they've got other ideas. They've been hounding me nonstop about taking Emma along. Why? Because apparently, her getting rejected from every college she applied to means she needs a consolation prize. And guess who they think should foot the bill for this pity party? Yours truly. This isn't the first time they've pulled this kind of stunt, but it might be the last straw. I did something I'm not super proud of, but I'm starting to think it might have been my only option. I lied to them. Yep, you heard that right. I told them the wrong dates for my trip and even threw in a fake airport just to throw them off the scent. Now, I'm sitting here, ticket to Rome burning a hole in my pocket, a suitcase full of secrets, and a gnawing feeling in my gut that's either guilt or the 5 espressos I downed to finish my thermodynamics paper. So Reddit, here's what I need to know. Am I the asshole for wanting one damn thing to myself and going to somewhat extreme lengths to make it happen? Or have I just bought myself a one-way ticket to family drama town population, me? Update 1. To really understand this mess, we need to rewind a bit. It's me, Alex, burning the candle at both ends and probably in the middle too. My daily routine, it's a real hoot. I drag myself out of bed at the crack of dawn, usually with my face imprinted with whatever textbook I fell asleep on. Then it's off to my internship, where I spend 8 hours pretending I know what I'm doing. But wait, there's more. After a full day of coffee-fueled productivity, I get to come home and dive headfirst into the joyous world of summer classes. And when I say joyous, I mean, why did I do this to myself? We're talking hydraulic engineering, which is basically like trying to herd cats, but with water. Then there's mechanics of materials, where I learn exciting things like how much stress a beam can take before it snaps. And let's not forget thermodynamics, which is just a fancy way of saying, here's why your ice cream melts, but with more math. Now, you'd think after all that, I'd get to collapse into bed and dream about easier career paths, like professional lion taming or something. But no, that's when the real fun begins. See, at Casa de Alex, I'm not just a student and intern. Oh no, I'm also the resident chef, maid, and apparently the only one who knows how to operate a washing machine. There was this one time, and I swear I'm not making this up. I got home at 8 p.m. after a day that would make even coffee say, dude, take a break. I walk in the door, ready to faceplant onto any horizontal surface, and what do I find? 3 grown adults, my parents and Emma, sitting around like they're waiting for the pizza guy, except I'm the pizza guy, and the pizza. They had literally waited for me to come home and cook dinner. I mean, come on. Between the 3 of them, they have 6 hands and presumably the collective knowledge to boil water, but nope. It's all on Alex, the magical dinner-producing fairy. But let's talk about Emma for a sec. My dear, sweet, wouldn't-thrist sister. Emma's 19, and her life philosophy seems to be, why do it yourself when you can bat your eyelashes and someone else will do it for you? Now, I don't want to sound harsh. I love Emma, I really do. But loving someone and wanting to strangle them with a USB cable aren't mutually exclusive, you know? Emma's always been the baby of the family, and boy, does she milk it for all it's worth. When we were kids, it was cute. She'd toddle around, make a mess, and everyone would coo about how adorable she was. Fast forward 15 years, and she's still making messes, but now they're life-sized and somehow always end up being my problem to fix. Take the college situation, for instance. Emma applied to, like, a gazillion schools. Okay, maybe more like 10, but still. You'd think with those odds, she'd get into at least one, right? Wrong. And why, you ask? Well, let's just say Emma's approach to her college applications was about as thorough as my approach to reading terms and conditions. I tried to help her, fill out the applications, even set reminders on her phone for deadlines. But Emma has this amazing ability to hear what she wants and filter out the rest. So while I'm saying, Emma, you need to start your essay, what she's hearing is, Emma, you should definitely binge watch another season of that reality show about people living in a cave or whatever. And when the rejection letters started rolling in, oh boy, it was like someone had canceled Christmas, her birthday, and told her that unicorns aren't real all in one go. There were tears. So many tears. I'm talking full-on, Oscar-worthy sobbing. You'd think she just lost the lottery instead of facing the consequences of her own actions. But instead of using this as a learning experience, a chance to maybe, I don't know, develop some work ethic or personal responsibility, my parents decided that what Emma really needed was a consolation prize. And what better way to console someone than with a trip to Rome, a trip that I planned and paid for myself. Which brings us to the Texas incident of 2023, when I finally got a break from the chaos, invited by my cool cousin to hang out in the Lone Star State, a chance to wear a cowboy hat unironically, eat my weight in BBQ, and maybe learn to line dance without looking like I'm having a seizure. I had it all planned out, flight booked, itinerary set, even practiced my howdy y'all in the mirror. But then, faster than you can say remember the Alamo, my plans went up in smoke. My parents decided that Emma should come along, because apparently, the concept of a solo trip is as foreign to them as the idea of Not content with just adding Emma to the mix, they decided to play travel agent with my carefully crafted plans. Suddenly, I'm being told that I need to squeeze in a detour to Utah to visit another cousin. So, my beautiful 2-week Texan adventure morphed into this weird family road trip. 5 days in Texas, a week in Utah, and Emma complaining the entire time about how boring everything was. Oh, and let's not forget the luggage fiasco. The night before we left, I went to pack my suitcase. I opened it up, all ready to Tetris in 2 weeks worth of clothes, only to find it already full of stuff that wasn't mine. Turns out my parents had decided that since I was going on this grand tour of the American West, I should be a pack mule for family gifts. Do you know what frustrates me the most? The financial situation. Now, I get it. I'm an adult. I live at home. It's reasonable for me to contribute. But there's contributing, and then there's whatever this is. My parents expect me to hand over 20% of my paycheck. 20%. I did the math, and I agreed to it. But it feels less like contributing to the household and more like paying rent to live in a sitcom. And it's not just the money, it's the constant emotional toll. The expectation that I'll always be there, always be family-oriented, always put everyone else's needs before my own. Don't get me wrong, I love my family, but sometimes I feel less like a son and more like a workhorse with a built-in ATM. So there you have it, folks. That's the backstory, the soil from which this whole Rome trip drama grew. A family dynamic more tangled than my earbuds after being in my pocket for 5 minutes. A sister who thinks the world revolves around her, and parents who, well, let's just say they mean well, but their execution leaves something to be desired. All I wanted was one trip, 1 week where I could just be Alex, not the cook, not the maid, not the ATM, not the emotional support human, just Alex, wandering around Rome, probably getting lost, definitely eating too much gelato, and maybe finding a little piece of myself that doesn't revolve around taking care of everyone else. But hey, that's just my perspective. Maybe I'm the delusional one here. So, internet strangers, hit me with your best shot. Am I the asshole for wanting to fly solo, or am I just spreading my wings? Update 2. So here's the thing about the lie. It wasn't some grand scheme I cooked up. It just happened. You know how sometimes you're backed into a corner and you say something without thinking? Yeah, it was kind of like that. It had been building for a while, to be honest. My parents kept dropping hints about Emma joining the trip. At first it was stuff like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if Emma could see Rome too? I'd brush it off, make some excuse about how Emma doesn't like long flights or how she'd be bored with all the museums I wanted to visit. But they didn't let up. Every day it seemed like they had a new reason why Emma should come along. Emma's been feeling down lately, they'd say. Or, it would be such a great bonding experience for you two. I get that they were trying to be nice to Emma, especially after the whole college rejection thing, but come on, this was supposed to be my trip. I was starting to feel pretty stressed about it. I mean, I had been planning this trip for months. I'd saved up, done all this research about where to go and what to see. The thought of having to change all that to accommodate Emma, it was frustrating, you know? The breaking point came on a Sunday night. I was studying for a big exam, totally in the zone, when Emma burst into my room. She was all excited, waving her phone around saying, Alex, Mom and Dad said you're taking me to Rome. I've already told everyone on Instagram. I just sat there, kind of stunned. In that moment, I could see my whole trip falling apart. 2 weeks of following Emma around, listening to her complain about the heat or the walking or whatever. 2 weeks of having to change my plans to make sure she was entertained. It wasn't just disappointing, it was overwhelming. So I lied. I didn't really think it through. The words just came out. Oh, Emma, I think there's been a mix-up. The trip isn't for another month. The look on her face? I felt bad. I really did. But I also felt relieved. So I kept going. Told her I was flying out of a different airport for cheaper tickets. Made up some stuff about wanting to see Rome in early fall. After she left, I sat there for a while, kind of in shock at what I'd done. I felt guilty. I mean, lying isn't great, right? But I don't know, like I was finally standing up for myself. Of course, one lie led to another. I had to create a whole fake itinerary, made up some booking emails, researched flight times I wasn't actually going to take. It was a lot of work, to be honest. And yeah, I was pretty paranoid for a while, kept checking to make sure I hadn't slipped up somewhere. But as time went on and the lie held, I started to feel better about it. For once, I was doing something just for me. No compromises, no having to put someone else first. It felt good, in a way, even if I still felt a bit guilty. I did worry about what would happen if they found out. What if there was some emergency while I was gone? What if Emma was really disappointed? But then I'd remember all the times my plans had been changed for her, or all the times I'd had to put my stuff aside to help her out, and I'd feel a little less bad. So that's where I'm at now. I've got my ticket to Rome. My family thinks I'm not leaving for another month, and I'm caught between feeling excited about my trip and nervous about this whole lie. I know lying isn't great, but was I wrong to want just one thing for myself? To finally put myself first for once? I'm not sure. That's why I'm here, I guess. Hoping some outside perspectives might help me figure out if I'm the asshole in this situation, or if maybe, just maybe, I was justified in what I did. What do you think, Reddit? Am I the bad guy here? Or just someone who finally decided to stand up for themselves, even if the way I did it wasn't ideal? Update 3. Alright, so you're probably wondering how this whole thing played out. First off, the trip itself. I've got to say, it was pretty amazing. I did felt guilty about the lie pretty much the whole time I was there, but Rome, it's something else. I did all the touristy stuff, saw the Colosseum, threw a coin in the Trevi fountain, ate way too much pizza. You know, the usual. But the best part? The freedom. For the first time in I don't know how long, I could do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. No one asking me to take their picture every 5 minutes, no complaints about sore feet or boring museums. Just me, wandering around this incredible city, soaking it all in. I even made some friends at the hostel I was staying at. We'd go out for dinner, swap stories, plan our sightseeing together. It was nice, you know, just being Alex, not Alex the responsible older sibling or Alex the family workhorse. But But here's the thing about lies. They have a way of following you around. Even as I was having this amazing time, there was always this nagging feeling in the back of my mind. Every time I took a picture or bought a souvenir, I'd think about how I'd have to hide it when I got home. I couldn't even post anything on social media because I was so paranoid someone would see it and blow my cover. And then there were the check-ins with my family. I'd set up this whole system before I left. I'd take pictures of my textbooks or my desk and send them to my parents every so often, making it look like I was still at home studying. It was exhausting, constantly having to remember what lie I'd told and making sure I didn't slip up. But eventually, the trip had to end. I flew back home, and let me tell you, that flight felt about 10 times longer than the one to Rome. My stomach was in knots the whole time, thinking about what I was going to face when I got back. I had it all planned out. I'd sneak back into the house late at night, unpack everything, hide all the evidence of my trip. Then I'd just pretend like I'd been there the whole time, studying and working like always. It wasn't a great plan, but it was all I had. Except, well, things didn't quite go according to plan. I got home around midnight, thinking everyone would be asleep. I was tiptoeing up to my room, suitcase in hand, when suddenly the lights flicked on. And there they were, my parents and Emma, all sitting in the living room, looking at me like I was a ghost or something. For a moment, we all just stared at each other. Then my mom said, in this really quiet voice, "Where have you been, Alex?" I won't lie, I panicked, started stammering about how I'd just been out, lost track of time, the usual excuses. But it was pretty clear they weren't buying it. I mean, I was standing there with a suitcase and a tan for crying out loud. So, I did the only thing I could do. I told the truth, all of it, about the lie, about the trip, about why I did it. It all came pouring out right there in our living room at 1 in the morning. You want to know the weird part? Once I started talking, it was like I couldn't stop. I told them about how overwhelmed I'd been feeling, how I just needed some time to myself for once, how I loved them all. But sometimes it felt like I was drowning in responsibilities and expectations. But they weren't having it. Every time I opened my mouth, they'd throw another accusation at me. Selfish, irresponsible, ungrateful. It went on for hours. By the time I finally escaped to my room, I was exhausted, emotionally drained. But it wasn't over. Oh no, it was far from over. The next morning, I woke up to an empty house. Weird, but I figured everyone was still cooling off. I decided to start unpacking, maybe do some laundry as a peace offering. That's when I noticed it. My dresser drawer, the one where I keep my emergency savings, was slightly open. A bad feeling crept over me. I rushed over and yanked it open, empty. The envelope with nearly $10,000 I'd been saving for years, gone. I tore through my room, thinking maybe I'd moved it and forgotten, but deep down, I knew. I tried calling Emma first, straight to voicemail, then my parents. Same thing. I sent texts, emails, even tried messaging them on social media. Days wore on, my confusion turned to anger. They were ignoring me, fine, but stealing my money? That was crossing a line. It was a late evening when I heard the front door open. I stormed downstairs, ready to confront them, but the sight that greeted me stopped me in my tracks. They were all tanned, smiling, carrying luggage I'd never seen before, and wearing matching I Love Rome t-shirts. For a moment, we all just stared at each other. Then Emma smirked and said, "How was your week, Alex?" Ours was fantastic. I couldn't believe it. They'd gone to Rome, with my money. While I was sitting here thinking they were furious with me, they were off on a family vacation. Before I could even form words, Dad stepped forward. "You wanted to go to Rome without us? Fine. We decided to see how you like it when the shoe's on the other foot." Mom chimed in, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "We thought you should get a taste of your own medicine, dear. It's only fair, right?" I was speechless. The audacity, the sheer hypocrisy of it all. I finally managed to sputter out, "You stole my money. That's illegal." Emma rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. It's not stealing if it's family. Besides, you owed us for all the stress you put us through." I turned to my parents, hoping for some sense of reason, but the looks on their faces told me everything I needed to know. They were on Emma's side. Of course they were. Dad's next words confirmed it. "Alex, we've been talking. We think it's time you moved out." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "What? You can't be serious." Mom stepped in. "You've shown us that you're not a team player in this family. If you want to act like an adult and make your own decisions, then you can do it under your own roof." But that was my money," I stammered. "I've been saving that for years. You can't just take it." Dad's face hardened. "Consider it your final contribution to this family. Pack your things. We want you out by the end of the week." And just like that, they all brushed past me, chattering about their trip as if I wasn't even there. I stood there in the hallway for I don't know how long, trying to wrap my head around what had just happened. My family had stolen my money, gone on vacation, and now they were kicking me out, all because I'd wanted 1 week to myself. So I packed up my stuff, called around to find a place to crash. An old college buddy is letting me crash on his couch for now, but it's not a long-term solution. I've tried talking to my parents, tried to make them see reason, but they're not budging. They keep saying I brought this on myself, that I'm ungrateful, that I don't appreciate everything they've done for me. As for the money, well, that's where things get complicated. I've looked into it, and technically, what Emma did could be considered theft. I could file a police report, maybe even sue her to get my money back. But here's the thing, it's not just about the money anymore. It's about the betrayal, the fact that my own family would do this to me. And then there's the practical side of things. I'm basically homeless right now. I've got my job, thankfully, but between rent and bills, it's going to be tight. That savings was my safety net, and now it's gone. I know I messed up with the whole lying about the trip thing. I get that. But this feels like it's gone way beyond an appropriate response. I just can't believe they'd go this far. So, what do you think? Should I pursue legal action against Emma and possibly my parents? Try to find a way to reconcile with them, or just walk away from it all and start over? Any advice would be appreciated. I'm out of my depth here, and I could really use some outside perspectives. Thanks for reading all this, if you made it this far. Writing it all out has helped a bit, I think. At least now I can see how crazy this whole situation really is. Update 4. I want to thank everyone who responded to my original post. Your advice and perspectives really helped me get my head on straight during what's probably been the craziest time of my life. So here's what's gone down since my last post. After a lot of soul searching and some great advice from you all, I decided to take a stand. I told Emma and my parents that I was serious about pursuing legal action for the stolen savings. I didn't want to, but I felt like I had to show them I wasn't just going to roll over and take it. You guys, the reaction was nuclear. My parents went ballistic. They started throwing around words like ungrateful and selfish again. According to them, I was the one who started all this with my little stunt in Rome, and everything that followed was just natural consequences. Dad kept saying things like, after everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us, and we raised you better than this. Mom was a bit quieter, but her disappointed look somehow hurt even more than Dad's yelling. Emma, for her part, just smirked through the whole thing. She kept insisting she'd done nothing wrong, that it was just a prank, and I was overreacting. It was like she couldn't, or wouldn't, understand the seriousness of what she'd done. I stood my ground, though. I told them that regardless of how they felt about my trip, stealing my savings was illegal, and I was prepared to prove it in court if necessary. That's when things took a turn. My parents huddled up, had a whispered conversation, and then Dad came back with an offer. They'd return my savings if I agreed not to sue Emma. I was torn. On one hand, I really needed that money. Living on my own was proving to be way more expensive than I'd anticipated. On the other hand, part of me wanted to go through with the lawsuit just to prove a point. In the end, practicality won out. I agreed to their terms, got my money back, and thought that maybe, just maybe, this could be the first step towards mending our relationship. As soon as the money was back in my account, it was like a switch flipped. My parents went from angry to cold. They told me they needed time and space to process everything that had happened. I figured, okay, that's fair. We all needed some time to cool off. But days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. My calls went straight to voicemail. My texts were left on read, emails bounced back. It was like I'd suddenly ceased to exist in their world. I tried everything. I sent a heartfelt letter apologizing for the original lie about the Rome trip, explaining how overwhelmed I'd been feeling, and expressing hope that we could work things out. No response. I even swallowed my pride and showed up at the house one day, hoping we could talk face to face. Dad answered the door, took one look at me, and said, "You're not welcome here," before shutting it in my face. I stood there on the porch for I don't know how long, feeling like I'd been in exile. The final blow came last week. I got a terse email from Dad. The gist of it, they're looking into legally disowning me, cutting me off completely. In their eyes, I'm no longer their daughter. I'm not going to lie, Reddit. I'm a mess. I cycle between feeling angry, hurt, guilty, and just lost. One minute I'm furious at them for overreacting, for not trying to understand where I was coming from. The next I'm wondering if maybe they're right. Maybe I am ungrateful. Maybe I did bring all this on myself. I keep replaying everything in my head. The original lie about the Rome trip, the confrontation when I got back, the theft of my savings, the threats to sue, every decision I made, every word I said. I'm second-guessing all of it. I'm trying to move forward with my life. I've got a small apartment now. I'm focusing on my job, trying to make new friends, but it's hard. Every time I achieve something, my first instinct is still to call my mom and tell her about it. Every time I'm struggling, I wish I could ask my dad for advice. And yeah, as annoying as she could be, I even miss Emma. So here I am, back on Reddit, asking for perspective once again. Did I screw up beyond repair? Am I really the ungrateful child they say I am? Or did I just stand up for myself in a bad situation? I honestly don't know anymore. I know family is complicated, and maybe there's no clear-cut right or wrong here, but I can't help feeling like I've lost everything over what started as a simple desire for a solo vacation. Any thoughts or advice would be appreciated. Even if you just want to tell me I'm an idiot. At this point, I'll take any human interaction I can get. Thanks for listening, Reddit. Writing this all out has helped a little. At least it's reminded me that I'm not completely alone in all this. Update 5. Hi, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who took the time to read my story, comment, and send messages. Your support and insights have been absolutely invaluable during this whole ordeal. After spending days reading through all your comments and messages, I've had a bit of an epiphany. I realize now that I'm not the bad guy in this situation. Yes, I made mistakes. Lying about the trip wasn't my proudest moment, but the way my family reacted, the theft, the emotional manipulation, the silent treatment, that's not okay. It's not normal, and it's certainly not my fault. Many of you pointed out the signs of emotional abuse and toxic family dynamics that I've been too close to see. It's been eye-opening to say the least. I've spent so long trying to please my family, trying to be the perfect daughter, that I lost sight of my own worth and needs. So I've made a decision. I'm going to stop reaching out to them. No more unanswered calls, no more emails into the void, no more showing up at their doorstep hoping for a miracle. It's time for me to focus on my own life, my own healing. Who knows what the future holds? Maybe someday, if my family is willing to acknowledge their part in all this and make real changes, we might be able to rebuild some kind of relationship. But for now, I'm okay with focusing on myself and my own growth. I promise to come back and update if anything significant happens. But for now, I'm signing off to go live my life on my own terms.